The starship horizon drifted silently above the shimmering surface of Zelthar Prime. Its sleek hull reflected the pale light of a distant sun, painting the metal with soft streaks of silver and gold. Captain Aaron Hale stood in the observation deck, hands clasped behind his back, staring at the alien world below. He felt the familiar mix of awe and unease that came with every first encounter. Zelthar Prime was unlike anything humans had seen before. Its cities were not built from stone or metal, but seemed to grow naturally from the land itself. Crystalline towers stretched into the sky like frozen waterfalls, glowing with colors that shifted depending on the angle of light. Rivers of liquid crystal flowed between the buildings, refracting sunlight into brilliant rainbows. From the surface, the planet seemed alive, pulsing, breathing, and aware. Aaron's mind raced. He had trained for this moment for years. As humanity's envoy, he carried the responsibility of not just himself, but of every person on Earth. The Zelthari were known across the galaxy as one of the oldest civilizations, wise and powerful. They had never extended trust lightly. And now, for reasons still not entirely clear, they had agreed to meet a human. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. Lieutenant Mira Solis, Aaron's second-in-command, appeared at his side. Her expression was calm, yet her eyes betrayed her tension. "They're ready for us," she said quietly. "The landing party has cleared the court for your arrival." Aaron nodded. "Thank you, Mira. Keep the ship ready. If anything goes wrong, we may need an immediate evacuation." Mira gave a small nod and left, her steps silent against the metal floor. Aaron took a deep breath, steadying himself. This was no ordinary diplomatic mission. One wrong move, one poorly chosen word, could doom humanity's chance at an alliance or worse. The landing platform shimmered beneath the stars as the transport shuttle descended. Aaron adjusted his uniform, smoothing the folds and straightening his insignia. The shuttle doors opened with a quiet hiss, revealing the surface of Zelthar Prime. The air was crisp but breathable, a rare courtesy from the Zelthari, whose atmosphere was often toxic to humans. Stepping out, Aaron felt a wave of wonder wash over him. The court of the Zelthari sprawled before him, an expanse of crystal floors, towering pillars, and glowing arches. Alien beings moved with grace and precision, their skin shimmering in hues that no human name could describe. Some floated slightly above the ground, their long limbs trailing delicate streams of light. Others had multiple eyes, each moving independently, scanning everything around them. The court was silent, but the silence was alive. Aaron could feel the weight of 1,000 gazes on him. Every Zelthari present seemed to study him, not just with eyes, but with some deeper awareness that humans could not comprehend. He felt exposed, as if every thought, every intention, could be read. A ripple of light swept across the floor, and from the center of the court, the alien queen emerged. She was taller than any human, her body radiant with colors that shifted like oil on water. Her eyes, large, luminous, and impossibly deep, focused entirely on Aaron. There was no greeting, no ceremony, only a question, unspoken yet heavy in the air. "Why are you here?" Aaron swallowed hard. He had rehearsed many possible answers, but nothing could fully prepare him for this. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that the Zelthari seemed to recognize immediately. "I am Captain Aaron Hale," he said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. "I come as an envoy of humanity. We seek dialogue, understanding, and friendship with your people." The queen tilted her head, a movement both elegant and calculating. Light rippled across her body, a sign of her mood. The other Zelthari watched closely, their silence growing heavier. Finally, she spoke, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Human, your words are heard, but words are easy. Actions are harder. Tell me, what makes your species worthy of trust?" The question struck Aaron like a physical blow. Worthiness, trust. Two concepts that were simple in theory but so complex in practice. His mind raced. How could he explain humanity in a way that an alien court, with centuries of experience and wisdom far beyond his own, could understand. He took a step forward. "Your Highness," he began, "humanity is young compared to your civilization. We have made mistakes. Many mistakes. We have fought wars, caused harm, and sometimes failed to act when we should have. But in all of our history, there is also a pattern that defines us: our ability to rise, to learn, to create, and to care for each other." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Aaron continued, "We explore not just to conquer, but to understand. We invent not just for power, but to help. And above all, we choose, every day, to do what is right even when it is difficult." A murmur spread through the court. The Zelthari were known for their precision in judgment, and murmurs were rare. Aaron felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they were beginning to see something real, something human. In him, the Queen did not move. Her eyes, glowing like twin stars, held his gaze. Humans claim to choose good. Yet history shows many who chose differently. How do you prove that your species is more than its failures? Oh. Aaron took a deep breath. He could not rely on abstract ideas. He needed to speak with courage, with truth, and with conviction that even an alien being could understand. "Because, Your Highness," he said, stepping closer, "we have something unique. We have resilience. When everything seems lost, we rise. When faced with darkness, we reach for the light. Every act of kindness, every decision to protect someone else, is proof that we are capable of more than destruction. Humanity's worth is not in perfection, but in persistence, in courage, and in the choice to keep striving for better." The court fell completely silent. Even the usual hum of psychic energy seemed to pause. The Queen tilted her head slightly, considering his words. For a long moment, Aaron felt the weight of their gaze pressing down on him, as if the entire court, and perhaps the planet itself, were judging him. Then, unexpectedly, the Queen moved. She rose from her seat, her presence commanding the entire hall. Light shimmered along her body, casting rainbows across the crystalline floor. She stepped forward, closer to Irene than any human had ever dared. "You speak boldly, human," she said, her voice now a mixture of curiosity and challenge. "Boldness can be admirable or foolish. Time will tell. But words alone are not enough. You will have a chance to show your worth, not just tell it." Aaron nodded, understanding the gravity of her statement. He had faced dangers before: combat simulations, diplomatic negotiations, political intrigue, but nothing compared to the trials that awaited him here. To earn the trust of the Zelthari would require more than courage. It would require ingenuity, empathy, and strength of character beyond anything he had experienced. The Queen gestured, and a path of glowing light opened before him. "Walk forward, Captain Hale. The court watches. Your actions will speak louder than your words." With a steady breath, Aaron stepped onto the path. The air hummed with energy, and he felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was bending slightly around him. Each step seemed to test him, measuring his resolve, his heart, and his mind. As he moved deeper into the court, he realized that this was only the beginning. The question of worthiness had been asked. The answer would not come from speeches or promises. It would come from courage, from decisions made under pressure, from choices that could define the fate of his species. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a quiet voice reminded him, failure here would not just be personal. It could mean humanity's place in the galaxy, or the end of any chance at peace with one of the most powerful civilizations ever known. Yet, despite the fear, despite the weight of responsibility, Aaron felt a spark of determination. Humans were flawed, yes, but they were also unyielding. They survived where others gave up. They created beauty amidst chaos. And they fought for what they believed was right, no matter the odds. Stepping forward into the unknown, Aaron Hale was ready to prove that humanity's worth was not just in words but in actions. The court of the Zelthari was waiting, and the first trial had already begun. The air in the Zelthari court felt heavier than before. charged with a strange energy that seemed to hum through every crystal pillar, floor, and archway. Captain Aaron Hale's steps echoed faintly on the glowing path as he advanced, feeling the weight of every gaze upon him. The alien court was not merely watching, it was measuring, judging, testing the limits of his courage, intelligence, and spirit. Ahead, the alien queen hovered above the crystalline floor, her form radiant with colors that shifted like liquid fire. The light around her pulsed gently, as if the planet itself drew energy from her presence. She studied Aaron closely, her expression unreadable. "Human," she said, her voice both soft and commanding. "You claim your species is worthy of trust. You speak of courage and kindness, of resilience and choices. Yet, words can be shaped to deceive. Actions are the true measure of worth." Aaron swallowed and straightened his shoulders. He had prepared for questions, for scrutiny, but he had not anticipated the intensity of the Queen's gaze, which seemed to pierce his very thoughts. "I understand, Your Highness," he replied. "I am prepared to demonstrate my worth. Tell me what you wish to see." The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, and the air around them shifted. A ripple passed through the floor, and suddenly, Aaron felt a tug at the edge of his consciousness, as though the world itself were rearranging to present him with a trial. A low hum resonated from the crystals, vibrating through his bones. "You will answer the question not with words alone," the Queen said, floating closer. "You will show your values through action, through choices made under pressure. Fail, and the judgment will be final." Aaron's heart beat faster. He had expected negotiation, diplomacy, even verbal debate. But a trial of this kind was unlike anything he had trained for. He could see the court's other members watching intently, their multifaceted eyes reflecting every detail of his movements. Yet, despite the fear curling in his stomach, he felt a spark of resolve. This was humanity's chance. He could not fail. A panel of crystalline screens floated into the air before him, displaying scenarios in vivid detail. The first scene appeared, a human child trapped in a collapsing building, the structure groaning and falling around them. On another screen, a human scientist faced a critical experiment that could either save millions or fail catastrophically. On a third, a moral dilemma, two groups in danger, and Aaron could only save one. The Queen's voice echoed in his mind, or perhaps it came from the court itself. "Choose wisely. Your values will be tested. Show us your courage, your compassion, your judgment." Aaron focused on the first scenario. The child trapped in rubble. His mind raced. In training simulations, he had faced life and death situations, but never for someone he did not know. Never with consequences observed by an entire alien civilization. He imagined the child's fear, the fragile hope clinging to survival. He directed his thoughts clearly, deciding swiftly. "I choose to save the child," he said aloud, though the voice felt small in the vast hall. "Life is precious. Even one life is worth the risk." Immediately, the scenario shifted. The simulation showed him navigating the debris with careful precision. The crystals beneath his feet responded to his steps, solidifying paths where needed, testing his agility, his decision-making. Each movement required focus, and any hesitation caused the rubble to shift dangerously. Finally, he reached the child, lifting them from the debris and carrying them to safety. Relief washed over him, but there was no time to linger. The other scenarios were waiting. The second scene was the scientist. The experiment before them could either cure a deadly disease or create a catastrophic failure. The scientist was panicked, unsure of what to do. Aaron felt a pang of empathy. He could feel the scientist's fear as clearly as if it were his own. "Listen to reason," Aaron instructed gently, though the scientist was only a projection. "Step back, analyze your data, and trust your knowledge. You can do this." The simulation allowed him to guide the scientist's hands, to direct them toward safety and success. The experiment succeeded, curing the disease in the simulation, and Aaron felt a small thrill of accomplishment. Every trial completed felt like a statement not only of his courage but of human ingenuity and compassion. Then came the final and most difficult scenario, the moral dilemma. Two groups were in danger, a village threatened by an erupting volcano, and a research outpost attacked by unknown predators. He could only save one. Aaron froze for a moment. Both groups needed help. Both deserved survival. His training in strategy and ethics collided with his instincts. Time pressed, the simulation accelerating as though urging him to act. He thought of humanity's history. Moments where leaders had to make impossible choices. He recalled stories of sacrifice, where one life was risked to save many. He weighed the risks, considering both immediate consequences and the long-term implications. Finally, his decision crystallized. "I save the village," he declared. "The larger number of lives depends on it. The outpost must find another way to survive." The simulation responded instantly, showing the village escaping destruction, the people safe. The research outpost suffered losses, but some survived, finding shelter and using their skills to endure. Aaron exhaled, knowing it was the best decision he could make under the circumstances. The screens dissolved, leaving only the glowing path and the queen before him. The court had been silent throughout, the hum of energy lowering into a quiet resonance. The queen's gaze softened slightly, though her eyes remained piercing. "You show courage, yes," she said, her voice now tinged with curiosity. "You show intelligence, compassion, and judgment. Yet there is something more I seek to know. Tell me, human, why do you continue to act rightly even when failure is possible, even when loss is inevitable?" Aaron considered the question carefully. This was more than strategy. It was the essence of human philosophy. The spark that had driven them to explore the stars despite countless setbacks. He could feel the weight of his ancestors, of generations who had struggled and persisted. "Because," he said slowly, choosing each word, "humanity believes in hope, even in the face of danger, even when the odds are against us. We act because doing nothing would be worse. We act because we value life, knowledge, and compassion. Failure may come, loss may come, but inaction is the true defeat." The queen did not move for a long time. Light rippled across her form, brighter, slower, as if she were absorbing his words into her very being. The other court members remained still, yet the energy around them shifted. Something had changed. Finally, she spoke again, her tone almost thoughtful. Few beings speak with such honesty and conviction. Few would risk themselves, not for power or reward, but for principle alone. Your species, it may be young, but you carry a fire that even the oldest civilizations must respect. Aaron bowed slightly, feeling the weight of relief mingled with pride. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The Queen's challenge was not merely about words or simulations. She would test him further, in ways humans had never faced, in ways that would demand more than courage alone. A subtle vibration ran through the floor, and new pathways of light appeared, stretching deeper into the heart of the court. The Queen gestured toward them. "Walk forward, human. The question of worthiness is far from answered. What you have shown is admirable, but true judgment requires endurance, creativity, and the strength to act even when unseen." Aaron nodded, swallowing the knot of nerves that had formed in his stomach. The court had given him a glimpse of their expectations, their standards, and their curiosity, and in the depths of his mind, he knew that this test was not just for him but for the entire human race. One step wrong, one hesitation, and the opportunity to prove humanity's value could vanish forever. Yet, even as the weight of responsibility pressed on him, he felt a flicker of determination, stronger than any fear. Humans were defined not by ease, but by perseverance. They had faced impossible odds before, and they had risen. He would rise now. With a steady breath, Aaron Hale stepped onto the new path, ready to meet whatever trials awaited. The court watched silently, and the alien queen's gaze never wavered. Somewhere deep inside, Aaron sensed that the question of worthiness would not be simple. But he also sensed that this was the moment to define humanity not just by words, but by action, courage, and heart. The path stretched on, glowing beneath his feet, leading him into a realm of tests that would challenge every skill, every instinct, and every belief he had ever held. And as he moved forward, the echoes of his ancestors, of human history itself, seemed to whisper in his mind. Rise, act, endure, and prove that even in the darkest trial, humanity's light could not be extinguished. The glowing path stretched ahead of Captain Aaron Hale, twisting and shifting as if alive. Every step felt heavier than the last, and yet he could not stop. The court of the Zelthari watched silently, their iridescent bodies shimmering faintly in approval or perhaps in judgment. Aaron had faced simulations and moral dilemmas before, but he quickly realized that the real trials would not be mere illusions. The air shimmered ahead, forming into a wall of light. From it emerged a figure, tall, fluid, and glowing, a guardian of the court. Unlike any being he had seen, its movements were precise, almost liquid, and its eyes glowed with a soft, penetrating light. "You have answered with words, human," it said, its voice echoing in his mind more than in the air. "Now you will be measured by deeds. Each trial tests a part of your spirit. Courage, wisdom, empathy, and honor. Fail, and your worth is lost." Aaron nodded, feeling the tension in his chest tighten. He knew this was no ordinary challenge. Every trial would push him beyond what humans had faced before. The first trial began immediately. The path ahead twisted into a narrow bridge suspended over an abyss of pure light. The bridge seemed solid, yet it shifted with every step. As though testing balance and focus, Aaron felt a pull, as if the gravity itself were trying to sweep him into the glowing void below. He took a deep breath and focused. One step at a time, he moved forward. The air around him vibrated with energy, and he could feel his heartbeat echoing in his ears. With each step, the bridge grew narrower, and shadows emerged from the light below, forms that seemed to reach for him, whispering doubts. "Fear is natural, human," the guardian's voice said. "But courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward despite it." Aaron gritted his teeth and continued. His thoughts shifted away from the abyss and toward his purpose. Humanity was not a perfect species, but it was resilient. It survived, learned, and grew. One step at a time, he reached the end of the bridge, feeling a surge of relief and determination. The bridge dissolved, and the next trial appeared. A vast chamber filled with puzzles and mechanisms that required both intellect and intuition. Crystalline panels hovered in midair, each containing symbols, equations, and sequences he had never seen before. Aaron approached cautiously. He could feel the energy of the room testing his mind. Probing for hesitation or doubt, he began analyzing the patterns, recognizing connections between shapes, light, and sound. His hands moved carefully, activating panels in sequence. Time seemed to stretch and bend as he worked. Minutes felt like hours, yet Aaron did not give up. He reminded himself of humanity's strength, the ability to adapt, to learn, and to persevere. Slowly, methodically, the mechanisms aligned, and the chamber transformed, opening a doorway to the next trial. As Aaron stepped through, he felt the energy shift again. This time, he entered a chamber that tested empathy and compassion. Holographic forms appeared before him. Beings in distress, humans, and alien creatures alike. Each one needed help, but he could not save all at once. The first projection showed a child trapped under a fallen beam. The second showed an injured alien struggling to reach safety. The third showed an elderly human disoriented and alone. Aaron felt the weight of decision pressing on him. He knelt beside the child first, lifting the beam with careful effort. The child's eyes widened in relief, and Aaron felt a flicker of warmth. A reminder that action mattered. He guided the alien to safety next, speaking in gestures and simple words. Understanding that communication was more than language, it was intention. Finally, He assisted the elderly human, holding their hand as they navigated the chamber safely. Each life mattered. Each decision reflected humanity's values: courage, empathy, and determination to act for others. The chamber dissolved, replaced by an open arena. The final trial awaited, a test of courage unlike anything Aaron had faced before. Energy swirled around him, forming massive creatures that resembled beasts of flame and crystal. They roared without sound, their movements fluid yet threatening. The Guardian's voice echoed. Fear is present. Danger is real. Show us your courage, human. Stand and act. Even when the outcome is uncertain. Aaron clenched his fists. He did not have weapons beyond his body and wits, yet he understood the essence of this challenge. Courage was not about defeating the creatures by force. It was about standing firm, observing, and finding a path through danger with intelligence and composure. He studied their movements carefully, noticing patterns, anticipating shifts. He stepped forward, avoiding the attacks with precise timing. Moving closer to the center of the arena, the creatures seemed to test his resolve, striking faster, shifting unpredictably. Sweat ran down his face, yet Aaron did not falter. He remembered the words of his ancestors, the stories of humans who had faced impossible odds and prevailed through wit, courage, and teamwork. He was alone here, yet he carried the strength of an entire species in his resolve. Finally, he reached the center of the arena. The creatures paused, circling him, their energy pulsing around his body. Aaron raised his arms, not in attack, but in understanding. He moved calmly, guiding the creature's energy toward containment, using focus and intuition rather than brute force. Slowly, the creatures dissipated, their forms dissolving into the light. The arena fell silent, and Aaron stood alone, breathing heavily but victorious. The trials had tested not just his body and mind, but his character, his humanity. The path ahead opened once more, leading him to a chamber of reflections. In its center floated a pool of crystalline water, shimmering with visions of the past, present, and potential future. Aaron approached, gazing into the surface. He saw humanity's struggles, wars, failures, losses, but also triumphs, discoveries, and moments of profound courage. A voice echoed softly, almost as if coming from the water itself. Do you still believe your species is worthy, human? Can one life, or one mind, reflect the worth of a civilization? Aaron knelt beside the pool. He stared at the reflections, seeing the mistakes and the victories, the darkness and the light. He realized then that worth was not perfection. Worth was the willingness to act, to rise, to persist in spite of fear, failure, and doubt. Yes, he said quietly. Humanity is not perfect, but we act, we care, we fight for others, even when it is hard, even when we may fail. That is what makes us worthy. The pool shimmered, and the reflection of the queen appeared. Her luminous eyes regarded him with an intensity that was both testing and approving. You have faced the trials with courage, wisdom, and compassion, she said. Few beings could endure what you have faced. Yet, there is one final measure: your spirit. Will you continue to act rightly when the path is unknown? When the future is uncertain? Aaron stood tall, feeling the weight of her words. The trials had pushed him to the limits, but they had also revealed something fundamental. The strength of humanity lay not in perfection, but in persistence, hope, and choice. I will act rightly, Your Highness, he replied. Even when the future is unknown, even when danger comes, because to do otherwise is to betray everything humanity stands for. The chamber brightened, and the path ahead opened fully. The court of the Zelthari shimmered into view once more, the alien queen at its center. The trials had ended, and the verdict was near. Aaron exhaled, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and determination. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and moral dilemmas. He had acted with courage, empathy, and wisdom. Yet, he knew that this was only a part of the test. The Queen's judgment would not come lightly. Still, for the first time since arriving, Aaron felt a spark of confidence. Humanity had been tested through him, and though the outcome was uncertain, he had done everything possible to show their worth. One step closer, one trial completed, and the court remained watching. The alien queen rose, her radiant form casting long, colorful shadows across the crystalline floor. "Human," she said, her voice echoing in the hall. "You have performed admirably. You have demonstrated courage, empathy, and wisdom. But the question of true worth is not merely action or choice. It is heart. Will you show us the heart of humanity?" Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility tighten around his chest. The next trial would be unlike any before. It would not test his skill, intelligence, or courage alone. It would test the essence of what it meant to be human, and he was ready. With steady steps, Captain Aaron Hale moved forward, into the final chamber of trials, carrying with him the hopes, fears, and courage of an entire species. The chamber of the final trial unfolded before Captain Aaron Hale like a living dream. Light cascaded from the ceiling in shifting patterns, painting the walls with colors he could not name. Crystalline pillars formed arches that seemed to move subtly as he walked, bending the space around him. Everything about the room felt alive, as if it could sense his every thought and reaction. At the center, the alien queen waited. Her glow was softer now, but no less commanding. "Human," she said, her voice echoing gently in the vast hall. "You have faced trials of courage, intellect, and empathy. You have acted wisely and bravely. Yet the essence of worth is not merely action. It is the heart, the spirit that drives choice, sacrifice, and compassion. Show me the heart of humanity." Aaron swallowed hard. The words carried immense weight. Courage and intelligence could be demonstrated by skill and observation, but the heart could not be easily shown. It lived in instinct, in empathy, in the choices one made for others rather than oneself. He knew this was the most dangerous trial, yet not for his body or mind, but for his spirit. The floor before him shimmered, and the chamber shifted. Suddenly, he was no longer standing in the court. He was in a simulation, or perhaps a vision of Earth. Cities stretched before him, teeming with life. He could hear distant laughter, the chatter of markets, the hum of machinery, and the cries of those in need. The scene was familiar, yet strange, magnified and detailed in ways no human eyes had ever seen. The Queen's voice spoke again, not from the chamber, but from inside his mind. "You see your world, human. All that has been, all that may be. You will choose a path here that reflects the heart of your species. Every decision matters. One choice will define worth in the eyes of the court." Aaron looked around. Before him, 3 situations unfolded simultaneously. The first was a natural disaster, a city threatened by a massive storm. Evacuation was possible, but only for part of the population. Many would be left behind. The second was a conflict. A group of humans and aliens in a border region faced sudden attack. He could intervene, but it would risk both sides, and the outcome was uncertain. The third was a moral dilemma. A scientific experiment had the potential to save millions from a disease, but it also carried unknown risks that could harm others. The weight of choice pressed down on him. Each option reflected a different aspect of humanity: protection, diplomacy, and the pursuit of knowledge. Yet each carried consequences, and there was no perfect solution. Aaron took a deep breath. The chamber pulsed softly, sensing his hesitation. He closed his eyes, recalling the lessons of the previous trials. Courage was not the absence of fear. Empathy was not simply kindness, it was the willingness to act even when the cost was high. Wisdom was the ability to see beyond oneself, to consider the greater good. He opened his eyes and made his first decision. The storm-threatened city would receive aid. Evacuation efforts were coordinated. prioritizing children, the elderly, and the vulnerable. He acted quickly, delegating resources through the simulation, and felt a surge of hope as the citizens were guided to safety. Yet he knew some would be lost. The storm was too strong to save all. Next, the conflict. He approached it with caution, remembering the lessons of diplomacy. He could not force the sides to understand one another, but he could create space for communication and trust. Using careful intervention, he guided representatives from both groups to a neutral area, establishing a truce until further dialogue could occur. It was imperfect, but lives were spared, and the risk of escalation was minimized. Finally, the experiment. He approached the simulated lab cautiously, feeling the weight of countless lives depending on his choices. He advised the scientists to follow strict safety protocols, to proceed methodically rather than rushing for immediate results. The experiment succeeded, saving millions without causing unintended harm. The chamber shimmered, the simulations dissolving into the crystalline floor. Aaron felt a rush of exhaustion, but also a quiet pride. He had acted with courage, compassion, and foresight. Every choice he had made reflected the essence of humanity, the desire to protect, to understand, and to act for the greater good. The Queen's presence grew larger, more radiant. You have acted with wisdom and heart, Captain Hale. You have faced impossible choices and still chosen to value life, understanding, and compassion. Few beings could endure such trials with clarity and integrity. Aaron bowed, his body tired but his spirit resolute. I have done what I could, Your Highness, he said. I represent humanity, and I acted as we always strive to act, with courage, compassion, and hope. The Queen tilted her head, the light around her pulsing slowly. Yet, one question remains. Human. You have acted wisely, but the heart is not only in action, it is also in intention, in belief, and in the willingness to endure loss for what is right. Would you continue to act rightly if no one watched? If the consequences were unknown? Aaron's breath caught. He had thought of this before. The moral heart of humanity was not in recognition, reward, or glory. It was in quiet sacrifice, in acts done because they were right, not because they were seen. Yes, he said firmly. Even if no one sees, even if the outcome is uncertain, humanity would still act rightly. We act because it is the right choice, not because it benefits us. That is the heart of our species. A silence fell over the chamber, deeper than any Aaron had felt before. The energy of the room seemed to still, as if the very world were waiting for the Queen's judgment. Then she spoke, her voice softer now, almost reflective. Human, you have faced fear, uncertainty, and moral challenge. You have acted with courage, wisdom, and empathy. You have chosen what is right even when loss was inevitable, even when no one would witness your deeds. You have shown the essence of your species. Heart. Aaron felt a mixture of relief and awe. He had survived the trials, yes. But more importantly, he had demonstrated something deeper, the quality that made humans unique, their ability to hope, to act rightly, and to persevere in the face of impossible odds. The court of the Zelthari remained still, but he sensed a subtle shift. The members whispered to each other, their voices melodic and resonant, as if debating silently. The energy of the hall pulsed, approving yet measured. And the Queen's gaze held him steady. Few beings have endured what you have, she continued. Even fewer have acted with such clarity of heart. You have shown us not only the potential of humanity, but the spirit that drives them forward. The court is silent because it recognizes what words alone could not convey. The power of a single human to reflect the worth of a species. Aaron bowed deeply, feeling the weight of the moment. Every trial had tested him. Every decision had been scrutinized. And now, the essence of humanity itself had been reflected in his choices. He felt humbled, knowing the responsibility of representing millions of lives, and proud, knowing he had met the challenge. The Queen descended slightly, her glow bathing him in warm light. "Captain Hale, your actions and heart have left the court without words. You have shown courage when fear could have paralyzed you, compassion when indifference would have been easier, and wisdom when choice was unclear. You have acted with the true heart of humanity." The hall seemed to vibrate gently, as if the planet itself resonated with her words. Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. Not from relief alone, but from a sense of connection. Connection to the species he represented, to the court that had tested him, and to the potential for understanding between humans and Zelthari. "You have proven that humanity is worthy of respect, trust, and alliance," the Queen said, her voice now carrying a tone of finality. "Let this be remembered. Worth is not in perfection, but in the courage to act rightly, the resilience to endure, and the heart to care for others." Aaron straightened, bowing one final time. "Thank you, Your Highness. I am honored to carry humanity's values into your court, and to represent them with integrity." The Queen nodded once, and the chamber brightened, the crystalline walls reflecting a spectrum of colors that seemed almost alive. The trials were over, and the judgment clear. Humanity had been tested through one human, and through one human, the Zelthari had seen the courage, wisdom, and heart of an entire species. As Aaron stepped forward, the path back to the main court opened fully. The other Zelthari observers moved aside, their forms shimmering with approval. Though they did not speak aloud, the weight of their gaze now carried respect rather than mere curiosity. Aaron felt exhaustion settle into his muscles, but it was a quiet exhaustion, the kind that comes after enduring a trial not just of body or mind, but of spirit. The court's light seemed warmer now, as though acknowledging the human who had walked through impossible challenges and emerged with dignity intact. The alien queen's presence remained radiant before him. "Human," she said softly, "you have passed the trials. You have shown the courage, wisdom, and heart that defines your species. The court is silent because it recognizes the truth. You are worthy." Aaron bowed once more, his voice quiet but filled with conviction. "Thank you, Your Highness. Humanity will continue to strive toward the ideals I have shown here today. We act rightly, even when unseen. We endure, even when tested. That is our promise." The Queen's light pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, and the court's energy shifted in acknowledgement. The trials had ended, but their impact would echo for centuries. Humanity had been judged, and humanity had risen. As Aaron Hale walked back toward the center of the court, he felt a surge of hope. Not just for himself, but for his species. One human had reflected the heart of humanity, and the Zelthari had seen it clearly. The path of trust, respect, and potential alliance now lay before them, illuminated not only by crystal and light, but by the courage and heart of a single human soul. The court of the Zelthari was silent. Every eye, every facet of every body, seemed fixed on Captain Aaron Hale. The glowing crystals of the chamber reflected his image 100-fold. But it was not vanity, he felt it was the weight of responsibility, the awareness that one human had carried the essence of a species through trials that tested courage, wisdom, and heart. The alien queen floated forward, her light pulsing slowly, a rhythm that seemed to echo in Aaron's chest. "Captain Hale," she began, her voice calm yet filled with gravity. "You have faced what no other human has faced. You have walked through trials designed to test not only your strength and mind but the very heart of your being. You have chosen rightly when choice was perilous, acted bravely when fear threatened to paralyze, and shown empathy even when doing so was inconvenient or dangerous." Aaron bowed deeply, trying to contain the mixture of exhaustion, pride, and awe. "Your Highness, I have done only what I could. Humanity's worth is not in perfection, but in the courage to act rightly, the strength to endure, and the heart to care for others." The Queen's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and then she gestured, spreading her arms in a graceful arc. The court's energy shifted, shimmering waves of light moving across the crystalline floor. "You have shown more than skill or wisdom. You have revealed what it means to be human." The court has observed, judged, and deliberated silently. Now, the verdict must be declared. A hush fell over the chamber. The Zelthari court, for all their intelligence and composure, remained frozen, their attention entirely on Aaron. The moment seemed to stretch, the only sound, the faint hum of energy, flowing through the crystal structures. You have proven that one human can embody the strength, compassion, and resilience of an entire species, the Queen continued. Your actions have demonstrated that humanity, though young and untested among the stars, possesses qualities worthy of respect, trust, and alliance. You have acted with a clarity of heart that few beings, alien or otherwise, can claim. The words struck Aaron like a physical force. He had expected challenges, trials, and tests. But not this acknowledgement that he had truly represented the potential of humanity. Relief washed over him, but it was tempered by awe. The court's respect was not given lightly. It had been earned through courage, wisdom, and integrity. The Queen's gaze softened, yet it remained piercing. Let it be known that the human species is not only capable of survival, but capable of greatness. Worth is not measured by strength, conquest, or longevity alone. It is measured by the choices made when faced with adversity, the willingness to act rightly even when unseen, and the compassion to protect others despite the cost. Aaron felt a quiet pride swell within him. Humanity had been judged by one of the oldest, wisest civilizations in the galaxy, and humanity had risen to meet the challenge. Yet he understood that the trial was not over. The Queen had yet to signal the final acceptance, the moment when respect would transform into recognition and trust. The court has deliberated, the Queen said, her voice now echoing throughout the chamber like a chorus of light. And the verdict is clear. Humanity is worthy. Captain Hale, you have proven that the spirit of your species is alive, resilient, and noble. You have acted with courage, wisdom, and heart. And you have represented the potential of humanity with integrity and honor. A ripple passed through the court. The Zelthari, so often statuesque and controlled, shimmered with subtle expressions of approval. The crystalline floor glowed warmly beneath Aaron's feet, as if the planet itself acknowledged the moment. Even the energy that had tested him seemed to pulse in quiet celebration. Aaron straightened, feeling a surge of exhilaration and relief. "Thank you, Your Highness," he said. "I am honored to carry humanity's values into your court. I hope that this marks the beginning of understanding, cooperation, and friendship between our species." The Queen extended a hand of light, radiant and inviting. "Let this be the first step in a bond that may endure for millennia. One human has proven the worth of many. Let it be remembered that courage, empathy, and integrity define humanity, and that their potential is limitless." The court remained silent, almost reverent. It was clear that they were still processing the depth of what had been witnessed. One small human, standing in the midst of beings who had lived for millennia, had shown qualities that even the oldest civilizations had difficulty maintaining. Aaron allowed himself a moment to breathe. He had walked through fear, faced impossible choices, and acted with compassion and wisdom. Yet the greatest lesson he carried was simple. Worth is not measured in power, wealth, or technology, but in heart, courage, and the integrity of action. A ripple of movement passed through the court as the Queen spoke again. "Captain Hale, let the record reflect that the Zelthari recognize the human species as worthy of respect, trust, and alliance. Let it also be known that this recognition is earned through deeds and character, not mere words or appearances." Aaron bowed once more, feeling the weight of his species' hopes lifting slightly from his shoulders. The trials had been more than tests. They had been a bridge between two civilizations, a way to show that even the youngest species could rise to greatness when courage and heart guided them. The Queen's light pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat, and the court's energy shifted. "Let this day be remembered," she said softly, "as the moment when one human reflected the potential of many. Let it be known that humanity is capable of greatness, and that their future among the stars is bright, if guided by courage, wisdom, and compassion." The court, long silent, now shimmered with subtle acknowledgement. The Zelthari observers nodded in unison, their forms glowing warmly. The weight of judgment had been lifted, replaced with recognition and respect. Aaron felt a quiet joy, not for himself, but for the species he represented. Humanity had been judged, and humanity had risen. As he turned to leave, the Queen spoke one final time. "Captain Hale, you have proven what many thought impossible. Let this victory guide you, and your species, forward. You have shown that worth is not earned through conquest or domination, but through courage, empathy, and the unyielding spirit to do what is right." Aaron bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Highness. Humanity will remember this day, and we will continue to strive to live up to the standards you have witnessed." The court's light brightened, casting a radiant glow across the chamber. It felt like a silent applause, a recognition of the endurance, courage, and integrity that one human had demonstrated. The trials were over. The verdict was clear. Humanity's worth had been proven. As he stepped onto the path back to his ship, Aaron felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the court, not just to the Queen, but to the potential of humanity itself. One species, young and untested, had been given a chance to show its essence to a civilization older than the stars. And one human had fulfilled that responsibility with courage, heart, and integrity. The Queen's voice echoed once more, soft but firm. "Let the record reflect that humanity is worthy. Let the future be shaped by the same values you have shown here. And let it be known that even the smallest being can reflect the heart of an entire species." Aaron nodded silently, carrying those words in his heart. The journey back to the stars would be long, and the challenges for humanity had only begun. But now, they carried with them proof of their worth, not in weapons or power, but in courage, compassion, and the unyielding determination to act rightly. The court faded behind him as he ascended the glowing path. Outside, Zelthar Prime shimmered beneath the alien sun, a world both strange and beautiful, filled with possibilities. And for the first time, Aaron felt that humanity was not merely surviving in the galaxy. It was rising, ready to face the stars with courage and heart. As he returned to the horizon, his crew waiting with a mix of awe and relief, Aaron knew the truth that the Queen had revealed. Worth was not in perfection, nor in dominance, nor in conquest. Worth was in the heart, in the choices, in the courage to act rightly, even when the outcome was uncertain. And humanity had proven, through one human, that their heart burned bright. The stars stretched before them, endless and full of promise. And Captain Aaron Hale, weary yet resolute, guided the ship forward, carrying with him the pride, hope, and courage of an entire species. The alien Queen and her court had been frozen in awe, but humanity's story was only beginning.